Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Hi, my name is Matthew Holman, and this is another dose of Subscription Prescription, the podcast where we try to help you figure out all things to do with e-commerce subscriptions. I'm a little excited about this week's episode, although it's a little bit different than what we normally talk about, because this week we're going to be talking about B2B subscriptions. That's right, business to business. So these are for any of you that are selling to other businesses out there or trying to build a business where your end customer is another business. Yes, subscriptions do exist in this industry. It's something very interesting. I was actually on another podcast recording this morning, Jason Greenwood, the e-commerce edge podcast. I highly suggest checking it out if you're doing anything in the realm in B2B sales and B2B online sales. But we had a really interesting discussion about that. It's something part of actually my subscription background is getting into B2B, working with at QPilot. I'd say about 30% of our customers were doing something in the B2B space. So for those of you that are not interested in B2B subscriptions at all or remotely whatsoever, you may still find some value here understanding some of the differences. But otherwise, this episode is very much tailored for those of you that are trying to figure out or unlock B2B subscriptions. So first of all, I kind of want to talk about what is a typical B2B subscription. So B2B is going to be something like where you're selling, you could be selling several different types of things. You could be, say you're a manufacturing company and you're buying supplies or ingredients or something that you're using as part of assembly, right? You could be buying those types of things on a subscription or repeat basis. A really common one to think about would be selling like cleaning supplies to other businesses. They go through a bottle of detergent, cleaning their warehouse floor every month. So they're subscribed to a bottle of detergent, right? That is a B2B subscription. Another one that's really popular, and I was actually talking about with a friend the other day, is a company called Sanoderm. They sell tattoo recovery supplies. So you go and get a tattoo. They've got some lotion. They've got some pads. They've got some things to help that heal, help that color come out really vibrant. They sell direct to consumer, but they also sell to other businesses, or you might know them as tattoo parlors. So tattoo parlors will buy from Sanoderm, then they'll either give them to their customers or they'll sell them on to their customers. So Sanoderm is operating a hybrid B2B and D2C model, which if you're still listening, that's most likely a camp that you fall into or something that you're interested in getting into. Another one you might think of as saying, like, say you're selling a really big air filtration system, right? You're selling it to other buildings. You go in and you install a big, huge HVAC system, and then you want somebody to subscribe to the filters that go in with that, right? Water filtration, air supply, those types of things. One of the things that I think that are really common between, and one of the reasons why we're talking about this is a lot of B2B purchases and purchasing experiences are typically a little bit behind the curve from an automatic, or I should say automation standpoint, as we are used to in typical D2C purchase experiences. So as an example, you might have an Amazon subscription to some supplements for your kid, right? You're used to going on Amazon. Takes you about 2 minutes to find the right supplement you want. At checkout, you hit the subscribe and save option. You pick your frequency. You one-click checkout. You're done. Boom. Fast, easy, automated. For a lot of B2B purchasing experiences, it is a lot more complex than that. We're sending invoices. We're using EDI. We're using phone calls, sending emails, getting quotes back, committing, planning things out months in advance. The B2B purchase experience is often much more involved. There's a lot more complexity to it. And yet, if you're buying something as simple as the same product every time, you're already making repeat purchases. Subscriptions can be an interesting option for your B2B business. Some of the issues that we face with this part of this process, though, are very particular and specific to B2B companies. Namely, a lot of you out there are offering wholesale or custom pricing to your B2B partners, right? Company A might be getting 10% off. Company B might be getting 15% off. Maybe company C negotiated you to 13% off. So you're having to manage a lot of complex pricing structures and discount structures across your base. And honestly, within the e-commerce space, that's fairly complex to have to manage. Shopify does not do this very well. They struggle with the same SKU, like the pricing is attached to an individual product, not to, say, a person. Whereas WooCommerce, Magento, BigCommerce does this a little bit better, but WooCommerce and Magento are probably the best platforms for managing custom user-based pricing, is how you might want to call it, user being like a company or a person. There's also going to be different issues around payments, because a lot of times people are paying via they're processing payments via invoice. So you get sent an invoice, you wait net 30, your finance team puts in an ACH, or maybe they pay with a credit card at that point. But net terms are very common, popular in the B2B space, 30, 60, 90 days out. So, and that's a little bit different. Whereas with Amazon, you have a credit card that's tokenized with Amazon. That's how you can one-click checkout, right? Shopify, Shop Pay, these other systems, Amazon Pay. You're using a credit card you have loaded in there. So there's some differences there. On the logistics side of things, it can also be more complex. So for example, if you think about your end user being a business that has a manufacturing that is dependent on something that you're sending to them, timing can be very, very important. So what's very common in the B2B space is, say you're getting ready, you get an order as the final customer. So you get a new order, you're building custom desks. You get an order for 10 custom desks. The customer is going to get them within a month. You need lacquer for those desks, right? And you have 3 different suppliers you usually go to for lacquer. You send each of them an email saying, hey, I need an order of lacquer. What's your price? What's your availability? And then each of those companies are going to reply with, hey, right now it's listed at $50 a liter, and we can have it available to you within a week. The other one says 5 days. Somebody says 2 weeks. Well, hey, my manufacturing process needs that tomorrow. Can I get that overnighted? So now B2B businesses are paying through the nose to get something that's going to arrive faster or on time so that they can complete their projects on time, if that makes sense. As opposed to D2C subscriptions, where it's often, yes, there might be an expectation, but most subscriptions are not time sensitive unless they're food or some other types of industries, or if something's happened where you need it right away. Okay, so thinking through some of that complexity within the B2B space does make subscriptions harder. But I also want to kind of talk about a little bit in the sense of a terms that maybe makes it a little bit easier to understand, that if we stop calling it a subscription within the B2B space, right? So it's not like pet food where I'm subscribed and saving to get 10% off my order and getting pet food delivered to my door. I'm ordering an ingredient for a supplement that I make every month. Okay. What if we call that Autoship or auto-replenishment? And then we go into this realm of, say, like just-in-time delivery, where we're thinking through a process where the person who needs that product, that is buying that product on a repeat basis, can have that delivered to them in the timing and manner that is convenient for them. So in that example I just used about needing lacquer for some custom tables, instead of emailing 3 different suppliers to try to find out what the pricing is, they can just go to their website, see what the price is, see if it's in stock, and they can buy it, right? That's a typical D2C model. The beauty of layering an auto replenishment or an auto ship program to that is you actually create a relationship that allows that company to predict ahead of time for you that you have these. So in the example of the custom wood table option, let's say on average you're making 10 tables a month. So you need on average 10 buckets of lacquer. So you have that on auto ship. You're getting 10 buckets of lacquer each month. Now, if you know that you're going to need to make 15 tables, you can up your quantity order to 15. If you know you're only going to make 5 the next month, you can lower the quantity of 5. But the fact is you have a preset relationship with a supplier that is making that inventory available because you've told them that you'll buy it or you're going to buy it over this cadence. So that's where some of this relationship changes. It's less about the convenience of just getting something without thinking about it, and more about a supplier who's going to make sure that they have the stock on hand of the product you need for your manufacturing process, right? So as a good example, say like using the Sanoderm and the tattoo parlor option. In general, most tattoo parlors have a pretty good idea of how many customers they have coming in a given month. Maybe certain months are more busy than others, or maybe they're just packed all the time, right? So they're able to order tattoo supplies in a fairly predictable manner. And yes, they can adjust that order over time depending on if they are ending up with a little too much stuff or not. Sanoderm, as the supplier, knows how much they need to make of all those products to make sure over time they can forecast out what they need to make. So the difference is, instead of using like historical data to figure out how much I should potentially make, which is still very risky, subscriptions give us predictable data that allows suppliers to create and make those. And as a supplier or as a potential B2B auto ship, someone who's offering a B2B auto ship, you're going to get that benefit as well. And so it's a really big opportunity for you. Now, some of the things that make that a little bit tricky or interesting, if you've listened to any other episodes that we talk about subscription prescription, always talking about how to uncover your best customer, right? So when we're talking about B2B and some of these issues related to invoices, people like being able to call or send emails. They like having a relationship. Maybe they don't like the unpersonal nature of buying something online or getting a text message that you have an order about to process. However, we want to start identifying, as any business, what types of customers are the most valuable ones for us. What are the ones that we can create the most value for? What customers see us as a big value add as part of their supply chain? And subscriptions, or auto ship in this instance from the B2B side of things, is a really interesting opportunity to be able to do that, because there are going to be a lot of businesses out there that are going to love the fact that you're automating a purchase process in such a way that it becomes repeat, and only with a little bit of a check-in process. Say it's a text or an email letting somebody know it's about to order. You're about to have 10 buckets of lacquer that are going to ship this month. Do you need to adjust the order? So when we're thinking about this, you want to try to identify the things that are going to be most important to your customers, right? That will help you identify what type of auto ship program you're going to want to have in place. So as an example of this, you can canvas your customers. You can send out surveys. You can let them know these are some of the things that we're considering doing. You can also ask them questions about how they feel about the existing purchase process, things that they don't like, things that they do like, things that they wish were different. In an ideal world, how would you get your bucket of lacquer every month, right? How would you like your box of tattoo supplies to come to you, right? So asking customers to give us some feedback on how that can work and what we can automate potentially. Again, I think that there's some big opportunity when we're talking about replenishment things, right? So if you're selling a system that has parts that need to be replaced, right? Say you're buying a fridge for your own home from a D2C standpoint that needs to have the water filters or air filters replaced regularly, or light bulbs replaced regularly. If you're selling something with a replenishment component, auto ship, auto replenishment, or subscriptions for B2B are a definite opportunity for you, because you can start automating that and taking the scheduling component, the human component, out of some of those transactions, so that somebody doesn't have to think about reordering something. But the fact, like I do this myself with, we have a hot tub. So hot tub supplies. I've put our hot tub supplies on auto replenishment. When they show up, I know that it's time to switch out this filter or this chemical. It's literally that simple. And the same thing can work within the B2B standpoint. You know that you can get something. When we're talking about ways to roll out auto replenishment or B2B subscriptions, if you're not doing this already, if you are doing it already, you want feedback, again, let me know. You can always reach out to me or the show. I'm happy to give you feedback or some ideas if you'd like. But if you are looking at doing this for the first time, keep in mind that subscriptions or a new purchase process is always going to take time for somebody to adopt that from a process standpoint. So when we're thinking about effective ways to roll that out, we want to be thinking through that it's not just a moment in time. Like, hey, I need to get everybody flipped over to subscriptions right now or auto replenishment right now. You might only roll over 10 or 20% of your customer base to that process in the short term. And that's fine, because the idea is you want to start finding more and more customers that are going to respond to that type of process, because it's going to be more profitable for you as a business. It's going to be a little bit easier to manage. You can start hiring a little bit less on the sales side and a little bit more on the support or service side and the fulfillment side, because you're able to automate some of those processes. So keep in mind, as we're doing this, you can use incentives. You can offer people an additional discount, additional special. When we're talking about the B2B side of things, price isn't always the most compelling factor. Timing, support, those are two massive factors within the B2B side of things. People do like to know that, hey, if I have a problem, I'm going to be able to call and get a hold of somebody every time. The quality of the product, right? Being able to sell somebody some peace of mind, support, those types of things. Because at the end of the day, if I have a rush order for some really expensive custom tables, I might be willing to pay more for the lacquer if I know that it's going to arrive in the time frame that I need it to get my orders done and make my customers happy. That's a brief glimpse into like how we think about the B2B purchasing process. Okay, and then it's very, very similar to how we think about the D2C space is we want to be getting feedback. We want to try to build a program that's going to allow scale to happen in our business, thinking through purchase experience and repeat purchase experience, what our customers are currently experiencing, getting feedback from them, putting in an experience that's a little bit better, that's more optimized, that's more profitable for our business in the long run, but that also allows for better planning for our customers and better planning for ourselves and for our suppliers in turn. Okay, that's it for this week's dose on B2B, repeat purchases, or Autoship, or auto-replenishment, and subscribe and save. Again, please, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Give us a like, a review, a follow. That is one of the only ways that we learn about how we can make this podcast better for you. And stay tuned for next week. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.